Hello, good morning all. In our introductory class, we have come across with our first year, first semester syllabus. And in today's session, we are going to have a discussion on first lesson entitled The Curb in the Sky. The name of a lesson is The Curb in the Sky. This lesson is written by James Thurber, who was born in 1894 and died in 1961. So now I am just showing you James Thurber photograph, one of his photographs. And in the next slide, we'll come across with his works. So here in this slide, there is a detailed, history of the author. So he was an American humorist. He worked for the New York magazine. The magazine's name was the New York Magazine. He wrote 3 books which entitled The Seal in the Bedroom, number 1. Number 2 is My Life and Hard Times. This is second book. And the third book is The Middle-Aged Man on the Flying Trapeze. Right. So these are the works of James Thurber. And now he is also very much famous for his cartoons. So he was a famous cartoonist in those days. Already we have come across, we came to know that, that he worked for the New York magazine. So in which he used to present his cartoons, very funny cartoons. The Thurber Prize of American Humor is established in his honor. Right. And now let us have a look on some of his cartoons. You can have a look. Some of his cartoons are there. Right. And now let us come to the story. What exactly the story of the sky, the curb in the sky. Now, about the story, it tells about the 2 young male and female contrary characters named Dorothy and Charlie Deshler. So this is the story about a young male whose name was Charlie Deshler, and a young smart girl whose name was Dorothy. Both of these characters seems to be travel parallel but never meet with each other. Okay. Then let us have a look on a photograph of Dorothy. This is not exactly the photograph of Dorothy, but for your knowledge, for your information, that I have taken this photograph in order to keep in your mind. Now let us come to the character of Dorothy. So Dorothy indeed is a main character who was a young girl, beautiful and pretty looking girl, attracted by every young man in the city. As she was very beautiful, very pretty looking, so that is why every young man, whoever living in that particular city, was very much attracted by her beauty. But known for her captiousness, so here captiousness meaning also has been given to you, tending to find out faults. Right? So, all of these guys are very much menaced and sometimes exasperate also. So, they were very much scared of Dorothy's unusual habit that is called captiousness. That means tending to find out faults whenever other people speaks. Now let us come to the second paragraph. The habit of interrupting others while they speak on anything, on any matter, was gifted to her by birth. So when she was very young, she was gifted by this captiousness as a boon by God, and that of course extolled by her parents, increased in her a lot later. So that means their parents were very much impressed by her habit, that is captiousness. They thought that it must be a gift like. So that is why they never mind about this strange habit. So as the time passes on, this hobby also has become what should I say? She habituated to this hobby, so it increased a lot. So now Dorothy character is like this, and now let us come to the another character who is none other than our hero of this story, Mr. Charlie Deshler. So here Charlie Deshler photograph also has been given to you people. In fact, this is not original photograph of Charlie Deshler. For your idea, just I have taken this photograph. Now let us come to the character of Charlie Deshler. What kind of a young man he was? I have underlined a word, a particular words over here. The poor hero, I said. The poor hero. So Charlie Deshler was also a young, energetic, handsome raconteur. So raconteur is a word for which I have given the meaning also in the bracket. Raconteur means an interesting storyteller. That means a person who tells the stories in a very interesting manner. So on the other hand, he loves intensely in telling stories of his own experiences. So that means he loves very much. So here some caricatures, some characteristics of Charlie Deshler is also being given. So Charlie Deshler loves to travel, and Charlie Deshler loves to meet people, and Charlie Deshler who always loves to talk. In other words, he wants to share everything that he personally experienced and witnessed by virtue of his hobby. So his hobby was to travel, his hobby was to encounter with the experiences, his hobby was to meet the people, his hobby was to meet different people, different cultures, etc. So that is why he always shown interest to share his experiences with everyone to whomever he used to meet. And now in this slide I have given only 2 lines. By these 2 lines, you will come to know what kind of characters are these. So we can say that by and large, both these characters are absolutely contrast. That means both are opposite with each other, right? So one fine day, what happens? Charles Deshler makes an announcement. Now have a look on the announcement. When he was having a party along with his friends, he announces. What he announces? One day Charlie announces before his friends that he is going to marry Dorothy. He was in a very happy mood. Extremely, he was in seventh heaven like. And he announced that he is going to marry Dorothy. And this announcement surprised everyone. So who was sitting along with Charlie Deshler. This is surprising news for them. So why surprise? Because everyone, those who are sitting there at that party, they knew about Dorothy's strange habit. And one of them said he would lose his mind very soon. So who was very much acquainted with the character of Dorothy, what he said? Definitely Charlie is going to lose his mind as early as possible. Post haste means very soon. Then next, the another fellow who was sitting there, what he said? No, who knew both of them post hoc. So post hoc means a kind of explanation or a kind of argument after the event. So now let us come the real, event, what happened. So here you can see the photograph of Charlie as well as Dorothy, who got married, right? So one fine day, Charlie married Dorothy. Since then started the real life, right? So most of his friends were opposed his decision, because they are very much familiar with Dorothy's character. That means she is not bad girl, but she has a kind of habit which we have discussed earlier. So that is why most of them have objected. But one fine day, Charlie married Dorothy, and since then started the real life. Let us go for the next line. As Charlie was good at English, Dorothy did not interrupt him on many instances. So Charlie was, as we have discussed earlier, he was a good teller. So that means he is very good at English. So that is why in the beginning Dorothy never interrupted him, right? Because Charlie was good at English. The marriage life was blissful to them for 1 year. So for 1 year, both of them enjoyed together their marriage life. Everything was fine. Everything was going well. Okay. Here we have to observe one more thing, that what kind of a man Charlie was. So Charlie was not only a handsome guy, he was also a jovial and careless. Never felt beaten before others when Dorothy interrupted him, because he was a jovial man, right? As well as careless. So that is why he never felt beaten before others when Dorothy disturbed him. Then next, in contrast, let us go for the character of Dorothy in the next slide. Dorothy, being insensitive, never realized that her mannerism, not even annoying others but also her husband. So Dorothy was a girl, who never realized, who never even tried to realize that her mannerism disturbs others, annoys others, exasperate others, but never realized by Dorothy. So, this kind of habit, which is giving too much trouble to her husband also. So, her husband, who is drifting away from her in the second year of their marriage. So, everything was fine for 1 year of their marriage life. So, when in second year the problems started with the habit of Dorothy. But here, once again, go for the other one. Charlie always tried to accept Dorothy interruptions whenever he told stories, being an attitude that women should speak. So Charlie never objected Dorothy. Whenever she interrupted him, he never objected. This shows that Charlie firmly believed in freedom of speech. He allowed so many times Dorothy to speak out. Finally, Charlie realized that Dorothy would interrupt in all his narrations. So he was unable to change her hobby. He was failed, in fact, to change her habit, which is very strange to everyone. Then, finally, he realized that Dorothy would interrupt in all his narrations. So that is why what he did, he decided to narrate his dreams. What he did? He decided to narrate his dreams, hoping that Dorothy at least could not disturb him. How it could be possible when Charlie is telling about his dreams? How come it is possible to Dorothy to enter Charlie's dream? So that is why he decided to narrate his dreams as a stories, and hoping that Dorothy would not disturb him. So, coming to the 15th slide. So, as we have discussed that, he decided to narrate his dream stories. So, one of his outlandish dreams, outlandish means very unusual, very strange. One of his outlandish dreams while narrating to his guests was that of him being a pilot. So it was his strange dream being as a pilot, in which he dreamed of flying to the moon on the plane made by telephone wires and old leather pieces that took off him from his bedroom. So it was a strange dream, right? Where he was traveling on the aeroplane that was made by telephone wires and old leather pieces. But what happened on the halfway of his journey? He sees a man like Santa Claus. On the halfway of his journey, he sees a man like Santa Claus in a custom officer's dress. So that Santa Claus, attire was customs officer's attire. So he objected him to reach the moon. So that Santa Claus objected Charlie to reach the moon if he has invented wedding cookies which were the shape of a man and woman being married, fastened to a cookie base. Fastened means tied. Alright. And now what happened? Just have a look on this photograph I have given. This is Asylum photograph, right, where you can see a man who is sleeping or taking rest on the bed. In the next slide, we can see a lady is going to pay a visit, and in the third slide, you can see what happened. So, even in his narration of dreams also, disturbed by Dorothy, Charlie developed monomania. So even Dorothy did not stop to disturb Charlie while he was narrating his own dreams. So in his own dreams also, Dorothy is coming. Right? So this led him. What happened? What happened to Charlie? Charlie developed a sickness, right? Which is called monomania. Which is called monomania. Monomania means after completion of this one, I have given what you call glossary so that you can have a look on that. So this is a mental imbalance, something. So Charlie developed monomania. Finally, Charlie was compelled to join in an asylum. So he was compelled to join in an asylum. Asylum means an hospital for mentally ill. Okay? It is an hospital for mentally ill. So one of his friends said, according to his friend's narration, Charlie seemed to be happy that he is away from his wife. So one of his friends, who is very much acquaintanced with both of these two characters, Charlie as well as Dorothy, according to his opinion, what he said, that Charlie at least seemed to be happy because he is away from his wife. But when his wife visits him again, he seems to continue the same behavior. So he became panic whenever this girl or whenever his wife Dorothy visits him. So he'll continue the same behavior. Right? So in the final, what we can say is, in spite of troubling others and her husband, Dorothy abides by her husband. That shows how she loved her husband and developed stable relationship with him. So that means Dorothy is not a bad girl, a bad wife, but she had a strange habit, which gives trouble to others, which she cannot give up. But personally, she was a very nice girl. She was very nice wife as well as. So that is why she abides by her husband. That shows what kind of wife she was. Right. So this is the story of what you call the curve in the sky. And let us have a look on glossary. Look at the first word, amiable. Some words have been given over here for your knowledge. Amiable means pleasant, friendly, right? Then next, asylum. Asylum means a hospital for mentally ill. Okay. And the third one is captious. Captious means tending to find out faults. Then next, the fourth one is impetuous. Impetuous means acting without careful thought. Okay. Without thinking anything, just jumping into the problems. And then next, menace. Menace means something that causes serious damage. Okay. Then next, monomania. Monomania, too much interest in or for one thing. That is called monomania. Right? Then next, outlandish. Outlandish. Outlandish means strange or extremely unusual. Then next, post haste. Post haste means as fast as possible. And then next, post hoc. Post hoc means after the event. And the last one is raconteur. Raconteur, an interesting storyteller. Okay. So this is the story of the curve in the sky. Thank you very much. See you.